The best of James O'Brien.
What's it like? That's all. Because we read a story like this today, and I don't know whether it's fair to say most of us, but I certainly think most of the people in charge of deciding what is important and what is not on the United Kingdom's news agenda, most of them gloss over this. The courier company Hermes is to offer drivers guaranteed minimum wages and holiday pay in the first UK deal to provide trade union recognition for gig economy workers. And I say, what's it like being a gig economy worker? And you say what? We'll find out. Ben's in Sheffield. Ben, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello.
First of all, I'd like to thank you and your team for bringing this to light again.
It's nothing to do with the team. It's all down to me.
Well, they've actually put me through, and I'm not a delivery driver, so I'm a little bit of a curveball, I'm afraid. However, I do work in the gig economy.
Right.
I'm an electrician, and I'd like to hit you with 3 main points,
Yes,
if I may. I'm a little bit prepared for this, because it's a well-worn path for me. First of all is responsibility. I think the responsibility has been shifted from the employer to the employee, which we are by any other name.
Not just the responsibility, but the risk as well, the financial risk.
Precisely, yeah. Now, that comes under, if I was to blow a building up or whatever else, I would be liable for that. That wouldn't be the company, it would be myself. So I have to have my own insurance. Now, that has 2 effects. There's a financial cost to that, and there's obviously the paperwork and things which I'll come on to later. There's the vehicle, which is not my vehicle. I don't choose which vehicle I use. But if the vehicle is damaged in any way, these companies want to avoid going through their insurance, and they get you to pay for the damage. It's just part of the long con. Now, the second point is uncertainty. This is probably, for me, the biggest factor, and this is what made me open my eyes, if you like. This is what made me think, this isn't right. I don't know where I'm going to be or if there's going to be work. Okay, so I don't know. All right, I'm pretty good at my job, so I can be quite certain. I get out Monday morning, there's going to be work in my locker or in my postbox waiting for me to go out and work. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how many hours I'm going to have to put in. And James, I'm not a normal situation, but I can open my locker on a Monday morning and it could say, start work here, do this job, finish your last job, or start your last job at 8 p.m. Now, I've picked up my paperwork at 6 o'clock. That means I'm not going to get home till Tuesday, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. That's all well and good. Like, on the money side of things, that's all well and good.
So you make a good crust, then?
I do okay. I do okay.
This is a fascinating point, because there's a danger of thinking everybody's working in warehouses on minimum wage, but of course it starts there.
We're not out with our grill bowl begging for more.
No, but it moves up the food chain of employment, doesn't it? So they think, well, we've got away with it with the warehouse workers, we've got away with it with the minicab drivers. Do you think we could get away with it with skilled electricians? Well, let's find out.
James, you've done this before, because you've brought me on to my third point, which is life-work balance. Now, it's all well and good. I have to make hay while the sun is shining, because I don't know if there's going to be work the next day. I can. If I was a betting man, yes, there probably will be work tomorrow.
Sure.
And this is where Brexit comes into it a little bit. I'm not going to mention the companies that I subcontract for, but Brexit is going to affect those businesses. Now, I have no idea what their plans are. I have no idea whether this is going to affect me. I can only listen to yourself and other broadcasters. I can judge for myself. Yes, this probably will affect, but we don't get told. By the way, boys, there's not going to be much work for the next couple of weeks.
Because they don't have to tell you. They've passed on the risk to you. Historically, the relationship. I think all politics. This is my big thought for the week, Ben. I came up with this at the weekend. All politics is about the relationship between capital and labour, isn't it? This is what Karl Marx...
Follow the money.
Yeah, it's what Karl Marx understood. And the reason why they had to turn Marxism into a dirty word straight away was because they wanted that to be the end of the conversation, not the beginning of a conversation, whereby we could say, well, there's nothing wrong with capital, but I want labour to be protected more than capital, because labour is lives and capital is cash. And yet we've gone, I think, so far in the opposite direction that capital is now protected. If I was an investor in the company that you subcontract for and you go off sick tomorrow, what happens to my money?
Yeah.
It's fine. Someone else will do the work that you're supposed to do. But what happens to you if you go sick tomorrow? What happens to your van fee? Do you have van fees?
Yes, we do. I mean, they're quite highly masked. The company I work for are quite clever. They've just reduced our hourly rate to cover that. Now, you wouldn't notice that. I don't have a lot of time off work. I don't take days off sick. That's just not how I'm built.
Wow.
But I'm quite lucky in that matter. I don't get ill.
Sure.
Quite lucky.
Well, fingers crossed. Let's not jinx and touch wood. Let's everyone touch wood. Everyone touch wood. Everyone touch wood for Ben. I don't like this at all. Carry on. Go on, Ben.
We've got breakers all next week and all next
I've got your back, mate.
It's only when you take a day off that you look at it and you have to really scrutinise your pay packet and say, hang on, there's £11 missing here for that day.
Right.
And now that's when you realise, right, okay, they've charged me for the van. And when you ask them, they try not to answer it, but they are. That's what they're charging you. It's £11 a day for my van. Now, that's not going to break the bank. But if I'm off work for a week, that means I've lost a week's money plus 55 quid.
Yeah.
So I've paid 55 quid to sit at home with my leg in a cast.
Yeah.
So what's the answer? Don't break my leg.
And it is that simple. Or if you do, get yourself a loan or something like that. What is there any light at the end of your tunnel, if you allow me?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm actually a GMB member, and I really hope, and if you don't mind me saying, anybody that is in the construction industry, you would be a fool not to be in a union. Not necessarily GMB. I highly rate them, but you would be a fool not to be, because if you're not self-employed, you probably will be soon, because I don't see the tide changing anytime soon.
I mean, we need to determine. Yeah, well, I think so as well. But I don't want to be too pessimistic. I can't see Brexit helping the cause. The other point to make is there's two types of self-employed. So my friend Gary, who's a decorator, runs his own little decorating company. He's doing very well. He says, I'm self-employed. Naturally, there are risks involved, but I also get to reap the rewards of taking that potential risk. That's the
James,
difference.
You've hit the nail.
Not me, Gary Burton.
All right, Gary Burton's hit the nail on the head with a sledgehammer. When I was a kid, my dad did the same job as I do. All right, that's the way it was when I was a boy. You do what your dad did.
Same here.
He got up in the morning, he put a T-shirt on that had someone else's name on it. He got in a van with someone else's name on the side of it. He went and earned the money. He clocked in, he clocked out, he earned his money, and everyone was a winner. I do exactly the same as that. I'm wearing a jumper right now with someone else's name on it. I'm driving a van with someone else's name on the side of it. I'm doing the work that they tell me to do. I am employed in all but name and responsibility. And the second you take that responsibility and put it on my shoulders, that it used to be, and let me give you a quick crash course. I know you're probably waiting for other callers, but let me give you a quick crash course.
In a bad way.
It used to be, when you were self-employed, exactly like your friend Gary said, that you had your own business. Yes, you took the responsibility, but you got the rewards. It was actually Labour that did this to us. Labour said, look, small businesses are struggling to expand because of all this responsibility and people taking holidays and whatever else. So they were right for doing it, but they didn't put any control measures in to say, look, once you've got this big... I mean, the guy I work for employs about 100 people.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that he can't afford to pay us our holiday pay. Don't tell me he can't afford to pay for the insurance for us. It just comes down to greed. He's greedy. He doesn't want to pay for us to have those things because that's less money in his pocket.
Always. And that is where the political ideology of wanting less government and less regulation comes from, letting these people keep even more money. I mean, you're closer to kind of the streets, if you pardon the ludicrous phrase, than I am. I obviously inhabit a fairly rarefied bubble. I just have the privilege of talking to people like you every day. Your view is still rare among your peers. My ex-friend, and it pains me to say ex-friend, I tell the story in my book, who was he wasn't an electrician, he was only a delivery driver. He has gone, as he's experienced the privations that you've just described, he's gone further and further towards, sadly, racism and right-wing politics, blaming it all on foreigners and not on his boss, whereas to you it's absolutely clear. Is it? Well, explain that to me a bit.
It's really easily doable. I used to be, and I was I was told not to mention because you might have picked up on it. We've spoken a few times before. Right. I used to be a member of the EDL. And part of the reason, I'm not going to mention I'm not going to go into all of it, but part of the reason was I was skint and angry. Yeah. Now, you've got people like Farage saying, look, it's that Polish person over there, it's his fault, and I'm going to work surrounded by 30 Polish people. It's easy to see that, yeah, that's probably right. But it's not. It's not right at all. Follow the money. You had a guy earlier saying about, when you were talking about Brexit, follow the money. Look at the guy that's making the money from your misery. Look at the guy that is benefiting from your hard work and not sharing the loaf. And it's happening everywhere. I don't see it getting any better unless people like the organisations like the GMB start standing up to not just the big companies. I know they've got to start with the big companies,
sure,
but they've got to start filtering down. And they can't do that unless we all sign up and say, look, we are one. We've got to stand up to these people. I hate bullies, and that's exactly what this is. Because if I stand up to them on my own, as I'm self-employed, this is a catch-22.
Yes.
If I stand up and say, no, I'm entitled to these things, which I technically am,
yes,
I'm entitled to holiday pay as under workers' rights.
Are you?
Even as self-employed. If I say that to them, talk on, Ben.
Just
leave the van in the yard,
well,
mate.
that might, well, yeah, I mean, I was going to say that you'll have strength as the labour supply dwindles after Brexit, but of course as the labour supply dwindles, so demand might as well, so it won't be any consolation at all. Ben, you're right, I do remember, of course I remember. I didn't clock it first, because you don't normally ring me from Sheffield, I don't think, but I always enjoy talking to you. It's always really illuminating for me, genuinely illuminating, but not exactly uplifting, except the optimism expressed about collective bargaining and union membership. But remember, if we're going to look at politics as a relationship between labour and capital, where does all this free marketeering talk come from? What's the Tufton Street ideology? Is it about protecting labour, or is it about protecting capital? That's the beauty of calling it the Taxpayers' Alliance, when actually it's not about protecting labour, workers, humans. It's about protecting capital, money, cash in the pockets of the people who are already the richest in the land.
The best of James O'Brien.
Powerful